And yeah, a couple of quick points. As we are learning every day, we are changing the process to make it easier for everybody. So I'm putting these blue ticks because we are not going in sequence. I'm putting these blue ticks. Can you see this next to 143?
Yes.
Yeah. So those signify that that page is done. Okay. So, but to see that, obviously, you'll have to get the copy of discourses from here, the soft copy. So those of you that are getting it from Teams, you'll always get to know how much we have covered. So when you just flip through a page, you know whether it's done or not. That's one. Second, I'll just show you what I've done on the Excel. So on the Excel, I've added a sheet. Some of you might have seen it. It's basically, again, coverage of the reading. So what you'll be able to find out which page was covered in which video and which date. So this number that you see is the title of the YouTube video, S001, session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. And these are the pages on the physical book that we cover in each day. Okay, so that it acts, it's helpful. And finally, the specific video links for that day. Again, video links work only if you have told me and I have added you to view that video. It's a private video, YouTube channel. Yeah, those are the two other announcements that I had. And apart from that, how many of you read the house rules?
I did.
I didn't.
Okay, so I think I posted the fun stuff after the after the house rules. The fun stuff is the 7 o'clock meeting, right? So maybe everybody got distracted because there were two posts. The post above that talks about house rules that I have linked. I can bring it up. Or you can see it. I mean, it's nothing much. It's just so that the newcomer knows what are the rules of engagement. All of you who are regulars know it anyway. Okay. With that, I'll get back to reading. Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. I'm on the paragraph starting with the problem of God realization.
You start with 7 realities.
Sorry, thank you.
Good one.
I think probably each one of us can read one day. How about that?
Yeah, super idea. Who wants to do it today? Any volunteer?
Shall I start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The 7 realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following 7 realities. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy, with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses, to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Jai Meher Baba.
Thank you. I didn't note the page, so give me a minute. I think we are far away from here. 160, right? Yeah. Sunil, do you want to try to let the person in?
I can't see.
The request. Oh yeah, now.
I did. So next time you can
Okay.
just flip and see if you can make it work.
All right. Okay. I try.
Thank you. Sure. Does the audio prompt come to everybody? The knocking? Or is it just...
No, it didn't come to me.
Okay. So I always
So
thought that was the problem. So unless you're seeing that window, you'll never know. Okay, I
correct.
will handle it. The subtitle, why is this not centered? The subtitle is Parallel Between Sleep and God Realization. The problem of God realization is the problem of emancipating consciousness from the limitations of the mind. When the individual mind is dissolved, the whole universe relative to the mind vanishes into nothingness, and the consciousness is no longer tied to anything. Consciousness is now unlimited and unclouded by anything and serves the purpose of illumining the state of infinite reality. While immersed in this bliss of realization, the soul is completely oblivious of sights or sounds or objects in the universe. In this respect, it is like sound sleep, but there is an infinite difference that distinguishes God realization from sound sleep. During sleep, the illusion of the universe vanishes since all consciousness is in abeyance, but there is no conscious experience of God, since this requires the complete dissolution of the ego and the turning of full consciousness toward the ultimate reality. Occasionally, when the continuity of deep sleep is interrupted for brief intervals, one may have the experience of retaining consciousness without being conscious of anything in particular. There is consciousness, but this consciousness is not of the universe. It is conscious of nothing. Such experiences parallel those of God realization, in which consciousness is completely freed from the illusion of the universe and manifests the infinite knowledge that was hitherto hidden by the ego. Difference between sleep and God realization. In sleep, the individual mind continues to exist, although it has forgotten everything, including itself, and the latent impressions in the mind create a veil between the submerged consciousness and infinite reality. Thus, during sleep, consciousness is submerged in the shell of the individual mind, but it has not yet been able to escape from that shell. Though the soul has forgotten its separateness from God and has actually attained unity with Him, it is unconscious of this unity. In God realization, however, the mind does not merely forget itself, but has, with all its impressions, actually lost its identity. The consciousness, which was hitherto associated with the individual mind, is now freed, untrammeled, and brought into direct contact and unity with the ultimate reality. Since there is now no veil between consciousness and the ultimate reality, consciousness is fused with the absolute and eternally abides in it as an inseparable aspect, promoting an unending state of infinite knowledge and unlimited bliss. God realization, a personal attainment. The manifestation of infinite knowledge and unlimited bliss in consciousness is, however, strictly confined to the soul that has attained God realization. The infinite reality in the God realized soul has explicit knowledge of its own infinity. Such explicit knowledge is not experienced by the unrealized soul, which is still subject to the illusion of the universe. Thus, if God realization were not a personal attainment of the soul, the entire universe would come to an end as soon as any one soul achieved God realization. This does not happen because God realization is a personal state of consciousness belonging to the soul that has transcended the domain of the mind. Other souls continue to remain in bondage, and they can only attain realization by freeing their consciousness from the burden of the ego and the limitations of the individual mind. Hence, the attainment of God realization has direct significance only for the soul that has emerged out of the time process. After the attainment of God realization, the soul discovers that it has always been the infinite reality that it now knows itself to be, and that it's regarding itself as finite during the period of evolution and spiritual advancement was in fact an illusion. The soul also finds out that the infinite knowledge and bliss it now enjoys have also been latent in the infinite reality from the very beginning of time, and that they merely became manifest at the moment of realization. The subtitle is What was latent in infinite becomes manifest. Thus, the God realized person does not actually become something different from what he was before realization. He remains what he was, and the only difference realization makes in him is that previously he did not consciously know his own true nature, and now he knows it. He knows that he has never been anything other than what he now knows himself to be, and that all he has been through was but the process of finding his self. Two types of advantages. The whole process of attaining God realization is just a game in which the beginning and the end are identical. The attainment of realization is nevertheless a distinct gain for the soul. In general, there are two types of advantages. One consists in getting what one did not previously possess. The other in realizing fully what one really is. God realization is of the second type. However, this creates an infinite difference between the soul that has attained God realization and the soul that has not. Though the God realized soul does not possess anything new, its explicit knowledge of all that it really is, has been, and will ever be makes God realization all important. The soul that is not God realized experiences itself as being finite and is constantly troubled by the opposites of fleeting joys and sorrows. But the soul that has realization is lifted out of them and experiences the infinite knowledge and the unlimited bliss of being God conscious. In God realization, the soul drops its separate consciousness and transcends duality in the abiding knowledge of its identity with the infinite reality. The shackles of limited individuality are broken. This section is value of God realization. Do you want me to pause to understand the two types of advantages, or everybody is comfortable? I take that as a continue. So, value of God realization. The shackles of limited individuality are broken. The world of shadows is at an end. The curtain of illusion is forever drawn. The feverishness and the agonizing distress of the pursuits of limited consciousness are replaced by the tranquility and bliss of truth consciousness. The restlessness and fury of temporal existence are swallowed up in the peace and stillness of eternity. Oh, but we don't do this, correct? Just give me a minute.
Page number 371, Maya.
Yeah, so true discipleship is not part of this.
Make
right?
a tick mark on this page first.
Yeah, I've already done that. I've already done that on the page I completed. So I just need to go to 390. Yeah. So Maya has multiple parts and is pretty complex. By the way, interesting tidbit that we also noticed, but I'm just reconfirming. Baba has not used the word Maya in the whole operative part of God Speaks. He uses it only in the supplement, right? So that's something very, very interesting. I went and reconfirmed that by searching the book, but it's absolutely right. There's no use of Maya. You pick up any other book, there's always going to start with Maya when it's on the spiritual path. So that's just a aside. So I continue. Maya, part 1, false values.
Bhauji, though, in his books, mention in big detail about Maya and how it works.
Yeah, he has given it adequate coverage in discourses. Yeah, so I'm just making that observation vis-a-vis God Speaks. So, importance of understanding Maya. Everyone wants to know and realize the truth, but truth cannot be known and realized as truth unless ignorance is known and realized as being ignorance. Hence, arises the importance of understanding Maya or the principle of ignorance. People read and hear much about Maya, but few understand what it really is. It is not enough to have a superficial understanding of Maya. It is necessary that Maya should be understood as it is, in its reality. To understand Maya, or the principle of ignorance, is to know half of the truth of the universe. Ignorance in all its forms must disappear if the soul is to be established in the state of knowledge. Essence of falsehood. Therefore, it is imperatively necessary for humanity to know what is false, to know it to be false, and to get rid of the false by knowing it to be false. What is the essential nature of falsehood? If the true is known as being true, or if the false is known as being false, there is no falsehood but only a form of knowledge. Falsehood consists in taking the true as being false or the false as being true. That is, in considering something to be other than what in itself it really is. Falsehood is an error in judging the nature of things. Two kinds of knowledge. Broadly speaking, there are two kinds of knowledge: purely intellectual judgments about the facts of existence and judgments of valuation, which imply the appreciation of the worth or importance of things. Purely intellectual judgments or beliefs derive their importance from being related to values in some way. Divorced from values, they have very meager importance in themselves. For example, no one takes much interest in counting exactly the number of leaves on a particular tree, although from the purely theoretical point of view, such information would be a form of knowledge. Such information or knowledge is treated as unimportant because it is not vitally connected with other values. Intellectual knowledge becomes important when it enables man to realize certain values by giving him control over the means to their realization, or when it enters into valuation itself as an important factor, modifying or in some other way affecting the accepted values. This is profound. Mistakes in valuation. Just as there are two kinds of judgment, there are two kinds of falsehood. Mistakes in accepting as facts those things that are not facts, and mistakes in valuation. Mistakes in valuation can be committed in the following ways: in taking as important that which is unimportant, in taking as unimportant that which is important, or in giving to a thing an importance other than the importance it really has. All these falsehoods are creations of Maya. Although Maya includes all falsehoods from spiritual point of view, there are some falsehoods that count and some falsehoods that do not count very much. If a person takes a throne to be higher than it is, it would be a falsehood, but one that does not matter very much. On the other hand, if a person regards the throne as the be all and the end all of his life, that would be a falsehood which substantially affects the course and significance of his life. On the whole, mistakes in valuation are far more effective in misguiding, perverting, and limiting life than mistakes in purely intellectual judgments about certain objective facts. Mistakes in valuation arise owing to the influence of subjective desires or wants. True values are values that belong to things in their own right. They are intrinsic, and because they are intrinsic, they are absolute and permanent and are not liable to change from time to time or from person to person. False values are derived from desires or wants. They are dependent upon subjective factors, and being dependent upon subjective factors, they are relative and impermanent and are liable to change from time to time and from person to person. Okay. Examples of relative values. For example, an individual who is very thirsty and is in a desert like the Sahara thinks that nothing is more precious than water, while someone who has at hand an abundance of water and who is not very thirsty does not attach the same importance to it. In the same way, a person who is hungry considers food very important, but the individual who has had a full dinner does not even think of food until he is hungry again. The same thing applies to other lusts and longings, which project imaginary and relative values onto these objects that will fulfill those lusts and longings. False values, derivative and relative. The value of sense objects is great or small according to the intensity or urgency with which they are desired. If these lusts and longings increase, the corresponding objects assume greater importance. If they subside in their intensity or urgency, the objects also lose much of their importance. If the lusts and longings appear intermittently, those objects retain possible value when the lusts and longings are latent and actual value when they are manifested. These are all false values because they are not inherent in the objects themselves. When in the light of true knowledge, all the lusts and longings disappear completely. Objects vested with importance through the working of these lusts and longings immediately lose all their borrowed importance and appear meaningless. Emptiness of sense objects. Just as a coin that is not in current use is treated as false, though it has a kind of existence, the objects of lusts and longings, when seen in their emptiness, are treated as false, though these objects might continue to have some kind of recognition. They all exist and they may be known and seen, but they no longer mean the same thing. They hold false promise of fulfillment to an imagination perverted by lusts and longings, yet to tranquil and steady perception, they are seen to have no importance when they are considered as separate from the soul. It's a good example for false values. When a loved one, taking as important the unimportant. When a loved one dies, there is sorrow and loneliness, but this sense of loss is rooted in attachment to the form independently of the soul. It is the form that has vanished, not the soul. The soul is not dead. In its true nature, it has not even gone away, for it is everywhere. Nonetheless, through attachment to the body, the form was considered important. All longings, desires, emotions, and thoughts were centered upon the form. And when through death the form disappears, there is a vacuum which expresses itself through missing the departed one. If the form as such had not come to be surcharged with false importance, there would be no sorrow in missing the one who has passed away. The feeling of loneliness, the lingering memory of the beloved, the longing that he or she should still be present, the tears of bereavement, and the sighs of separation, they are all due to false valuation, the working of Maya. When an unimportant thing is regarded as important, we have one principal manifestation of the working of Maya. From the spiritual point of view, it is a form of ignorance. On the other hand, the working of Maya also expresses itself by making an important thing look unimportant, taking as unimportant the important. That's the title. In reality, the only thing that has importance is God, but very few persons are really interested in God for his own sake. If the worldly minded turn to God at all, it is mostly for their own selfish and mundane purposes. They seek the gratification of their own desires, hopes, and even revenges through the intervention of the God of their imagination. They do not seek God as truth. They long for all things except the only truth, which they regard as unimportant. This again is the blinding of vision caused by the working of Maya. People pursue their happiness through everything except God, who is the only unfailing source of abiding joy. Wrong importance. The working of Maya also expresses itself by making the mind give to a thing an importance other than the importance it really has. This happens when rituals, ceremonies, and other external religious practices are considered to be ends in themselves. They have their own value as means to an end, as vehicles of life, as mediums of expression. But as soon as they assume claims in their own right, they are being given an importance that does not belong to them, are being given an importance other than that which belongs to them. When they are considered important in themselves, they bind life instead of serving the purpose of expressing it. When the inessential is allowed to predominate over the essential by giving it wrong importance, one has the third principal form of ignorance concerning valuation. This again is the working of Maya. I didn't understand this. When the inessential is allowed to predominate over the essential by giving it wrong importance, one has the third principal form of ignorance concerning valuation. This again is the working of Maya. Okay, this is the end of part 1. Shall we just pause for a quick discussion and confirmation of understanding? Team is very good, very nicely on mute. So if anybody wants to jump in, please unmute.
I think that this chapter is very, all the four parts of Maya are basically dealing with our day-to-day life. That is the real aspect we have to work on. God realization is already latent. Once you become a human being, you have full and complete consciousness. But what is preventing us from realizing God is because of sanskaras and Maya, basically, because human beings are supposed to be intelligent. And so Maya, which is defined as the shadow of reality, which you will come across in one of the parts, is the main challenge for us. And even Baba, during his work, he would say sometimes that Maya is working against me. I would find it very funny, I mean, here, this is the avatar, the God, and he is talking about Maya. But then I realized that, Baba says when he comes in human form, he has to be like a human being, he has to go through all the travails and, obstacles, just like a regular human being, even though he has infinite knowledge, infinite power and bliss. So that was very interesting to me to see Baba even mentioning that Maya is working against me in sometimes in my inner work. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, I just have one clarification. So I think there were a lot of abstract concepts in part one about Maya, right? So is there something that you'd like to summarize before going ahead? Because I don't want uh, uh, us struggling in part two because we didn't understand something clearly.
कार्तिक
Yeah.
कार्तिक
Yeah.
हिंदी में बहुत सुंदर ढंग से इसको एक्सप्लेन किया है, बहुत छोटे में।
Mm-hmm.
जो बाबा की आरती है,
Mm-hmm.
माया भी तो उसकी छाया।
Hmm.
तो भाऊजी ने भी बहुत बहुत अच्छे से उसको एक्सप्लेन किया है कि
Mm-hmm.
जब तक हम दुनिया को देखते रहते हैं
Mm-hmm.
तो वो जो इमेज है, जो माया है, वो दिखती रहती है। और as soon as we turn towards the God or the reality, और तो वो अपने आप माया का जो शेडो है, जो माया है, वो छुप जाती है और सिर्फ गॉड दिखने लगता है। तो जस्ट वो एक टर्न लेने वाली बात है, एक वर्ल्ड से जो दुनियादारी है उससे मूव करके गॉड की तरफ देखना भर है, और माया अपने आप छुप जाती है। तो इस तरह का कुछ भाऊजी ने एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है। आई थिंक समीरा उसको और बेटर एक्सप्लेन कर सकती है।
Samira ji?
Can I come in?
Yeah.
This concept of Maya, we are in the shadow, but we think it is the brightest part and enjoy the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to turn away from this false light to the real light.
Correct.
So and realize that we are in the shadow. The other thing is, Maya is so powerful that to realize or to have an inkling at least of that it is false is very, very difficult. And majority of people will never accept this as a fact unless some sort of a spiritual exposure is there. That is the biggest challenge when we are dealing with the world. So when we think that it is false and we still have to deal in the same, it's a difficult aspect. I feel it's very difficult to live in Maya, understanding that it is not the reality.
And it has very thin layers. It is not just worldly possessions or things like that. Even the mind plays so many games sometimes. We think that there is something very important spiritually also, the mind energy or the mental world when we talk about. लोग कहते हैं ना कि अरे with the blessing of God हमको ये मिल गया, या blessings, वो एक्चुअली माया का ही एक्सटेंशन होता है, जिसको माइंड आंसर देने लगता है कि ये आपके साथ जो हो रहा है, ये जो आप कर रहे हैं, ये तो असल में भगवान की वजह से हो रहा है, या गॉड कर रहे हैं। ओ गॉड, यू हैव बीन सो काइंड, द गॉड इज सो काइंड टू यू, बट एक्चुअली योर माइंड इज फूलिंग यू समवेयर। सो ग्रॉस एनर्जी से तो आदमी फिर भी सोच समझ के निकल जाता है। ये जो मेंटल स्फेयर में जो लोग होते हैं, उनको समझ के निकलना बहुत मुश्किल काम है। उसमें से निकल जो जाता है और जो सटल में पहुंच जाता है, मेरे ख्याल से वो सचमुच माया को समझ जाता है और उसमें फिर वो वर्क कर लेता है चीजों को। दैट इज द सेकंड स्टेप, इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट। व्हेन माइंड इज इंटेलिजेंट, यू आर एन इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन एंड योर माइंड fools you all the time, you know.
Yes.
That's very crucial and very important point.
No, I think at a conceptual level, I'm sure all of us get this part of the shadow and get this part of the illusion, and
Yes.
Illusion going away to be replaced by God and the reality, right? I'm just telling you that I have to read this chapter again to get the
I see.
specific conceptual delineation he has done, which is basically the values and how we associate. I mean, first he starts with knowledge, then values give rise to knowledge, and he says 3 layers of that. So I didn't get that part. I'm just hoping that not getting that part doesn't stop us from going to the part 2.
Yes.
So, Karthik,
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, Samira, please.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to what Kama said, that when the avatar comes down, when he's called by the five masters, perfect masters, and he comes down as human form, at that stage he basically doesn't have, he has to be given the sanskars. Okay, so hence there was this time when Baba is fleeting between the different realms of life, and he had, there's a stone which used to keep hitting on his head,
Right.
to
Yes.
come back from that realm into the reality. I mean, what
Human
so
form.
called, what we call reality. Yeah. So basically, in spite of not having the sanskars, he has to be given the sanskars, and he suffers the sanskars for us to a large extent.
Yes. And he has said that again, right? He has said that
Yes, yes.
explicitly, that the suffering of the man God is for, I mean, the God man is for all of humanity.
All
Right?
of us, yes.
All of humanity. Yeah. And his role
So,
is, yeah. Go
Karthik,
ahead, Kama. Yeah.
answering your question, original question, one is this chapter is very intense,
Tense.
especially
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second page.
Yes.
So I'll give you just one hint that we talked about two kinds of knowledge, two kinds of falsehood, and mistakes in valuation. So the mistakes in valuation, there are three: taking as important that which is
Unimportant.
unimportant, and vice versa. I
And
can
the
give you an
third
example.
one being, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, an example is basically if you look at our own civilization, if you look at India itself, before the Industrial Revolution and let's say even 100 years earlier, most of us were living in an agricultural economy. Okay. And I think that when we had the Gurukuls, before the so-called formal school system, I think when an individual was born, the whole focus of the society was God realization. It was spiritual centric, and around it they build their material centres.
Yeah.
For example, any village or town or city, with a church, masjid, or temple, that used to be the center of activity. They were spiritually centric. Around it, they build their material life. Now, today, in the last 100 years, it's the other way around. We are more focused on our material life. We are material centric. And then when we go through problems or challenges, then we start looking at God, like when we go through suffering. So this is an example of basically taking as important that which is unimportant and taking as unimportant which is important, where he says in the page 373, in reality, the only thing that has importance is God. That is the only reason you have evolved into a human being. But Maya is, turning us upside down. And the third part of the mistakes and valuation in giving a thing an importance other than the importance it really has is the last paragraph, where we give too much importance to rituals and think that that is, it says when they are considered important in themselves, they bind life instead of serving the purpose of expressing it. In a later chapter, you will see that Baba talks about how from Karma Kanda rituals, we have to go to Adhyatma Kanda. From external rituals, we go to the inner, way of worship. So, there, Baba.
Great. I think that's a good summary. I think that makes me feel better. I hope everybody does too.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you,
comment.
Maya.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kama. Thank you, Maya, I said. Yeah, so Maya part 2, false beliefs. Shackles of Maya. The shackles that hold the soul in spiritual bondage consist chiefly of wrong values or falsehoods concerning valuation. Some falsehoods in the nature of wrong beliefs also play an important part in holding the soul in spiritual bondage. False beliefs implement false values, and they in turn gather strength from the false values in which the soul has been hung up. All false beliefs are much creations of Maya. All false beliefs are as much creations of Maya are as false values. And they are used by Maya to keep the soul still in ignorance in its clutches. intellect plays into the hands of Maya. Maya becomes irresistible by taking possession of the very seat of knowledge, which is human intellect. Surmounting Maya is difficult because with the Surmounting Maya is difficult because with the intellect under its sway, Maya creates barriers and upholds false beliefs and illusions. It creates barriers to the realization of the truth by persistent attempts to sustain and justify erroneous beliefs. The intellect that functions in freedom prepares the way to the truth, but the intellect that plays into the hands of Maya creates obstacles to true understanding. The false beliefs created by Maya are so deep rooted and strong that they seem to be self evident. They take on the garb of veritable truths and are accepted without question. For example, a person believes that he is his physical body. The section is false beliefs may seem self evident. So, the example he provides, for example, a person believes that he is his physical body. Ordinarily, it never occurs to him that he may be something other than his body. Identification with the physical body is assumed by him instinctively without requiring proof, and he holds the belief all the more strongly because it is independent of rational proof. Identification with physical body, it continues. An individual's life is centered around the physical body and its desires. To give up the belief that he is the physical body involves the giving up of all the desires pertaining to the physical body and the false values they imply. The belief that he is his physical body is conducive to the physical desires and attachments. But the belief that he is other than his physical body runs counter to accepted desires and attachments. Therefore, the belief that the individual is his physical body becomes natural. It is a belief easy to hold and difficult to uproot. On the other hand, the belief that he is something other than his physical body seems to call for convincing proof. It is difficult to hold and easy to resist. All the same, when the mind is unburdened of all physical desires and attachments, the belief that he is his physical body is seen to be false, and the belief that he is something other than his body is seen to be true. Identification with the subtle body. Even when a person succeeds in shedding the false belief that he is the physical body, he remains a victim of the false belief that he is his subtle body. His life is then centered around the subtle body and its desires. To give up the belief that he is the subtle body involves the giving up of all desires pertaining to the subtle body and the false values they imply. Therefore, the belief that he is his subtle body now becomes natural for him, and the belief that he is something other than his subtle body seems to call for convincing proof. But when the mind is unburdened of all desires and attachments pertaining to the subtle body, the person gives up the false belief that he is the subtle body as readily as he gave up the false belief that he was his physical body. This is not the end of false beliefs, however. Even when a person abandons the false belief that he is his subtle body, he cherishes the illusory belief that he is his mental body. The person cherishes this false belief because he relishes it. Throughout his long life, as an individual soul, he has clung fondly to the false idea of his separate existence. So now the title is Identification with Mental Body. All his thoughts and emotions and activities have repeatedly assumed and confirmed but one affirmation, namely the existence of the separate I. To surrender the false belief that he is the ego mind of mental body is to surrender all that has seemed to constitute his very existence. Shedding last falsehood. In surrendering the false belief that he is his physical or subtle body, it is necessary to surrender various desires and attachments. It is a giving up of something one has had for a long time. In surrendering the false belief that he is his ego mind, the individual is called upon to surrender the very core of what he has thought himself to be. To shed this last vestige of falsehood is therefore the most difficult thing. But this last falsehood is no more lasting than the earlier falsehoods that had seemed to be unchallengeable certainties. It also has its ending, and it is shed when the soul renounces its craving for separate existence. Soul is beyond thinking, desiring, and doing. When the soul knows itself to be different from the gross, subtle, and mental bodies, it knows itself to be infinite. As infinite soul, it does nothing, it merely is. When the mind is added on to the individualized soul, it appears to think. When the subtle body is added onto the soul with the mind, it appears to desire. When the gross body is added on to these, the soul appears to be engaged in actions. The belief that the soul is doing anything is a false belief. For example, an individual believes that he is sitting in the chair, but in fact, it is the body that is sitting in the chair. The belief that the soul is sitting in the chair is due to identification with the physical body. In the same way, a person believes that he is thinking, but in fact, it is the mind that is thinking. The belief that the soul is thinking is due to identification with the mind. It is the mind that thinks and the body that sits. The soul is neither engaged in thinking nor in any other physical actions. Of course, it is not mere mind or mere body that does the thinking or other physical actions, for mere mind and mere body do not exist. They exist as illusions of the individualized soul, and it is when the soul falsely identifies itself with them that the thinking or the doing of things occurs. The soul and mental, subtle, and gross bodies taken together constitute the agent of actions or the limited I. But the soul in its true nature is neither responsible for thinking, for desiring, nor for actions. Illusion that soul is the agent is the new title. The illusion that the soul is the mind or the bodies, and the illusion that the soul is the agent of thinking, desiring, or actions are created by Maya, which is illusion and the principle of ignorance. In the same way, the belief that the soul experiences the pleasures and the pains of life or is going through the opposites of experience is also false. The soul is beyond the opposites of experience, but it does not know itself as such. Belief that the soul, subject to dual experience, is the subtitle. And so it takes on the experiences that are characteristic of the opposites because of identification with the mind and the subtle and gross bodies. The soul that is mixed up with the mind and the bodies becomes the recipient of pains and pleasures. Thus, all the pleasures and the pains that one is subject to are rooted in ignorance. When an individual thinks that he is the most miserable person in the world, he is embracing an illusion that comes into existence through ignorance or Maya. He is really not unhappy, but imagines that he is unhappy because he identifies himself with the mind and the bodies. Of course,
this is also a big loophole, because when we are in good state, when we leave things and sometimes we feel miserable, this is also polishing our ego, which we
yes,
don't understand, or we don't want to. In Indian वो बहुत हम इसको बड़ा लेते हैं कि अरे दुखी हैं, परेशान हैं, ये हो रहा है वो, पर ये भी हम अपने कहीं ना कहीं अपने ईगो को जो है सेटिस्फाई कर रहे होते हैं, तो इससे भी बाहर निकलना पड़ता है.
correct. Of course, it is not the mind by itself or the bodies by themselves that can have any experiences of the opposites. It is the soul and the mind and the bodies taken together that become the subject of dual experience. But the soul, in its true nature, is beyond the opposites of experience. Nature of ensoulment of minds and bodies. Thus, it is the mind and the bodies together that constitute the agent of activities and the subject of dual experiences. However, they do not assume the double role in their own right, but only when they are taken along with the soul. it is the mind and the bodies which are ensouled that together become the agent of activities or the subject of dual experience. The process of ensoulment is based upon ignorance, for the soul in its true nature is eternally unqualified, unmodified, and unlimited. It appears to be qualified, modified, and limited through ignorance or the working of Maya. So I think this is a very good use of
Yes.
words, right? It
Yeah.
says that it is the mind and the bodies which are ensouled that together become the agent of activities or the subject of dual experience. So this is a nice use of words. I mean, the agent of activities is powerful, right? Agent of activities or the subject of dual experience. I like that very much. Okay, so yeah,
When you say ensouled,
yeah.
what is the actual meaning? Is it the soul is covered with the mind and body, or is the mind and the body covered with the soul?
The soul is covered with the body
Yes,
and mind.
veiled with the.
Because the soul is always the drop soul, never lives in eternity. So the body and mind, gross body, subtle body, mental body are just mediums to experience the gross, subtle, and mental world.
I think that example of the onion is a very beautiful one, in which the soul is there, but all the layers of everything are all around. So that is the body and everything, but the soul is part of it.
Correct.
And the interesting point of this chapter at the end is that the experiences are all through these triplet, that is the gross, subtle, and the mind. But they cannot happen on their own. It has to be with the soul. Soul has to be in attachment with them. Then alone there is this experience. But it is not the soul that is experiencing. This is the crux of that. So it is the experience of all the three bodies, but this experiences comes only with the association of the soul, and we think that soul is experiencing. That understanding we have to clearly make it not the proper understanding and de-link soul from all these three bodies. That is the
Perfect.
process in the path.
But
Good
if the
summary.
soul is
Go ahead,
not
Samira.
there, then the existence, if the soul is not part of the body or the mind or everything else, then the experience is also of no use. So to experience and to go to a higher level, you have to have the soul. Otherwise, it's just basically sanskars which you're getting rid of. And the mind is, it has to be an entire thing, to be able to experience it. One less doesn't lessen the experience, basically.
Correct.
Yes, we have
Not
to
what
go
you're
into a
trying to
stage of detachment in attachment.
Yes.
But there is a correction here. It is not the soul, it's the consciousness of the soul or the soul's consciousness. So
Absolutely.
one challenging part when I used to read discourses was, every time it came, the soul itself does not go through anything. It is the consciousness of the soul. If you remember,
Yeah, the
God
mind.
speaks.
Yeah.
So consciousness, drop soul before the
Yes.
whim is pure
Yes.
consciousness. And soul should also be looked upon in this context, in this chapter, as the self, the realized self, the capital self, SELF.
Correct.
And the three bodies are basically our ego personality selves. And the takeaway from this chapter, you have to understand one important word is identification. You will come with this word, false identification with the bodies. If you look at all the Vedanta Advaita, everything is about this false identification with the body. So this word identification is very important. And the second thing is when it talks about the identification of the physical, subtle, and mental body, what it also implies is that I think earlier when we read God Speaks, when we go through the planes, we get a lot of different siddhis where you can do miracles. And Maya again plays a role here which will actually delude the aspirant that they are become God realized. That is why we are seeing all these scandals in the Baba world, in the spiritual, marketplace, today in the world, because these so-called, people are attracted towards these people because these people are deluded. So that is why Baba says never, even in Vipassana, they tell you, don't get attached to anything, whatever power you get, unless you attain union. So I think that is one thing. And so every time we come across the name soul in discourses, my recommendation is always look at it as consciousness of the soul, or the soul's consciousness is going through the experience. Yeah, Baba.
Yes, I think perfect. This is perfect.
Brilliant distinction.
Consciousness
Yeah,
of the
Baba.
soul is very important. And
That's a brilliant distinction, and I think that should be maintained right through, so that we understand this right. Okay, so we are almost out of time. Should I do another page, or it's a new chapter? So I think
why
we'll
don't
just.
you make a note of it? So it will be helpful to others.
Yeah, but
Could you do it here?
yeah, maybe I will. So.
Another point I wanted to make here in this part 2 that we read was he talks about thoughts, desires, and doings or emotions. In the prayer of repentance, we talk about thoughts, words, and deeds. So instead of words, here he is using desires and emotions, as part of the subtle body.
I picked the wrong one. Hold on.
Take your time.
Yeah. No, I think I'll just summarize our plan for the evening. So I think 7:15 is what we planned. But are people okay to come a little earlier? Maybe 7 or even 6 o'clock? Because I heard Neha mention that there's no event on the Baba world. So if people are okay, we can meet up at 6, because I'm just sensitive
For
to
Namita's
Singapore.
sake, because otherwise
Yes.
it's going to be so late.
Very late for her.
So nice of you.
No, but if there's nothing else, we can actually advance to 6. I am okay with 6. Quick round of.
We are happy with either. It's okay.
Okay.
Is there
Okay with
anybody
me.
yesterday who agreed to 7 and not on the call right now? Then it's not nice to change.
You
That's
can
the only
always
concern.
put a message, send a message. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll play by ear, but right now it stands at as planned at 7. And I remember, Samira, it was you who said 7:15 because you thought you wanted to
No,
finish
because we
Aarti
thought we were going
somewhere.
to have that program, which is fine. Now, if you're
No,
not
so
going to
because
have
she
that
does an
Aarti-
Aarti as well every evening, but
Okay.
she does it at Singapore time, or is it India time?
No,
Namita?
I do it at 9:30, which is 7.
Oh, so why don't we
good.
do that? So
Well-
I think let's do the Aarti with Singapore
Yes.
at 7 India, and then
Yes.
continue from there.
Yes,
Is that
that'll be
fine?
nice.
7 is okay.
Yep.
Great.
And then
Okay.
it'll get very late for Namita.
No, it's okay. Today is Sunday night. We're going to have Baba party.
Yeah, it's a
because
Baba party.
Okay.
as women, we have to wind up the kitchen and do so many of these mundane.
I am one of those
nonsense
women who
kind of
doesn't
work.
enter the kitchen. So it's okay.
Stop right there, Samira. It's not just women. Lockdown has changed all that. Okay.
I don't know.
Then I have to do my
especially,
kitchen.
Yeah.
the whole week.
Then I have to do my kitchen. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for your sensitivity.
Indications to Sudhir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. In Beams, no, what is that? Beams, is it? You can see everybody. In this, I don't think I can see everybody. How can we solve that?
As in,
Because
I
we
didn't do
can't see
anything.
all the participants together.
No,
but
some
then-
of them are switched off the video.
So I'll
No,
tell you how
I
it
can't
works.
see.
I'll tell you how it works. There is one weakness in Teams. Okay. So Zoom gives you all the people in small icons, right? And then you can pick one and make it bigger. Teams is working on that. They still give you only 4 at a time. So the 4 that are picked are the last 4 speakers. So
You
if you
know,
spoke something,
because we would like to see everybody at the party.
understand. Right now that's not possible. So as you speak, you'll come into focus in the other
So I'm
screen.
going to keep on speaking.
Sure.
So is there a dress code to the party?
Yeah, at your Baba best. So let's really have fun. Let's
Yes.
come up dressed for this. Yes.
Yes, we'll dress for Baba. At least we can have fun. Yeah, we like that. And maybe towards the end we can all make our own chai.
Sure. So we start. Please join a few minutes earlier so that we start the Aarti exactly at 7. All of yeah.
Yes.
I'll put a reminder again on the.
So looking forward
And
to
please
knowing
note, there
everyone.
will be a change to the calendar starting tomorrow. Even tonight, we'll use the same link. Starting tomorrow, we'll change the link so that it reminds everybody. And there's a calendar. I'll change the title as well. Now it says unlocking, lockdown, whatever, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll make it discourses. So please start using that link from tomorrow morning. I'll again post that.
I have a suggestion. You know, besides these schemes, one of us can create a what is that? The other app.
Zoom.
That, what is it?
Zoom.
Yeah, we can make a Zoom list so that we can see everybody on wherever. And
So
then
we can do Zoom for
Zoom,
the-
Zoom is not safe. Zoom is not safe, and Zoom is, you know, you need in every, I think every half an hour you need to again refresh the link.
Yeah, that's
So
probably
this
pain.
is very comfortable where we are. Let it be.
Okay then.
Please.
I hope to see you in bits and pieces.
And Namita, keep talking, so you'll be there. No problem.
No, I want to see everyone else.
More than seeing, you will be seen. Don't worry.
Chalo.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai
Oh, wait.
Jai Baba.
Vidya is
Jai
saying
Baba.
unmute me. I just saw it now. So Vidya, you have to unmute. Let me try if I can. Only muting is in the in control of the others. So. Yeah, then now we can hear you. Go ahead, Vidya. Now I can hear you. You just spoke.
Who is Vidya?
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
All right then. So Vidya, look forward to seeing you as well. So everybody, few minutes before 7. Have a
Jai
great
Baba.
Sunday. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.